We had Bible conference here last week, and this speaker used this verse, and it just reminded me of God's protection. It's Isaiah 43, verse 2 and 3. It says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior."
So, Jack, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share your story with our people on the YouTube channel. It's our privilege to share with you today an amazing story, what Jack has experienced on the road with God. So you told me the story once, and I thought it was so good to hear that, and I think that would be good for our people to hear how God is still protecting people today in a situation like that. You live in Michigan, USA, right?
Correct.
And you and I are here right now, here in Florida, close to Lakeland. So we got to know you here in the park. You have a house here, and you also have a house out there. So thank you so much, brother, for taking the time to share this amazing story with our audience. So if you don't mind sharing the story, what happened in that storm?
Okay, we're as Christians, we're not exempt from trials and storms and tribulations, and yet God protects us through those. He walks with us through storms, and that's my experience. I in August this past year, I drove through a tornado, straight through the middle of a tornado, in the dark, not knowing what was happening. Actually, I'd been on a trip, a business trip, and I had returning home. I'd stopped at our conference grounds because we had a special speaker, and I wanted to hear him. And then I left there late in the evening.
By yourself?
By myself, alone, and traveling in a pickup. I have a pickup. And I knew the storm was coming. There was a storm coming. Nothing was said about a tornado. It was supposedly high winds, a front coming in, and I had about 70 miles to drive to get home. And I'm driving towards the storm, and I'm watching the lightning flash in the western sky. It was beautiful on one hand, and I thought, well, I better hurry along. When I got within 2 miles of my home, I have to cross over an expressway, a main highway in Michigan, and to do that, I go over what we call an overpass, or a bridge over the highway. And I was approaching that, and I'd called my wife. She had stayed home because her sister was here from Utah, or from Idaho, and so she wasn't with me, fortunately. And as I approached that overpass, I was watching, it was raining hard, and I was watching the traffic on the highway. It was like 10 minutes to 10 in the evening. And I thought, a lot of cars tonight for as heavy, as late and as heavy as the rain there was. And just as I got on the overpass, I got hit with this storm, which turned out to be a tornado. I had no idea what it was. I felt like I drove into a raging river. My windshield my car was totally submerged in muddy green water.
So at that moment, you are driving up on this bridge, kind of, and below there are all the cars. That's an interstate. That's a 4-lane highway.
Right.
So you went up. You couldn't see nothing. It was kind of like just in the middle of water and mud.
Right. And it was surging on me, waves, bang, bang. It did that at least 5, maybe up to 10 times. And it was moving my truck some towards the sidewall. And I was afraid on these overpasses, they have 4-foot cement walls on each side, and I was afraid I was getting up against that. So
how fast were you driving?
I slowed down. I didn't know whether to stop or keep going, so I just slowed down. I probably was doing 10, 15 miles an hour. I knew the road was straight, so I thought, well, I can just keep traveling, even though I could not see. I looked out the side window, passenger side, and these waves were coming from the driver's side. I looked at the passenger side to think how far I was close to the wall, and it was totally submerged, In fact, my thought was, I could drown, you know. It was just like I was in a river.
Middle of a cloud, water, wind,
muddy water.
And the windshield was full of mud, obviously, too, right?
Right.
And the wind was like kind of turning or just hitting from the side?
Well, it's from the side. I was in the beginning or the backside of the tornado, what amounts to, because it was moving east. And I just kept feeling that this was going to push me over. When I got on top of this bridge, my thought was, well, I don't want to get thrown over, because it's about 20 foot down on the highway, you know.
Wow.
And so I just kept moving, not seeing where I was going, hoping I wasn't going to hit somebody and stopped in front of me, or somebody was going to hit me from the back. And when I got on the other side, then a little branch hit my truck. And I thought, well, I'm getting too close to the ditch. So I pulled over a little further in what I thought was the center of the road, and hadn't even more than done that, and then I got hit with the debris from the neighbor's barn is what it was, and it took out the whole side of my right side of my truck, the passenger side, took out the window. The glass was flying in, and the rain was coming straight in through that window. And then a limb hit on top of the truck, came down and cracked the windshield. I could see that, even though I still couldn't see the road. And it landed on the hood and then fell off. And by then, it just cleared up enough that I could see, because I was going to gun it, because I thought, well, I can get out of here. I'm 2 miles from home. And when I looked up, there was a large tree, 2.5 foot diameter tree right across the road in front of me. So I stopped, and I thought, now what do I do? You know, and I called my wife, and I wanted to say to her, I'm in trouble, but I'm okay. When I said I'm in trouble, the phone went dead.
So now she only hears you're in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
And she knew that there was this
she knew where
tornado.
I was. Yeah, she knew where I was. She didn't know it was a tornado either. We kept thinking strong winds. You know, that's what the report was.
Well, that's not the good news for your wife, right?
No. She called our daughter, who lived 10 miles south, and her husband called a farmer friend that lived a mile away. And so that's how I ended up getting out. But I'm sitting in the truck, and I'm looking at this house, and I thought, I don't recognize this house.
And you should recognize it.
Yeah, because I'd been down that road 1,000 times.
Yes,
yeah.
You knew the area so well.
Right, and I thought maybe I'd blanked out. I thought, I wonder where I am, you know. And the reason I didn't recognize the house, because there was a row of trees in that area, and those were all on the ground.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I still didn't recognize it was a tornado. I thought, well, the power's out. I knew the power was out in the area, and I thought I could go to the house, and they're probably sitting in there with candles. And so I walked up to the house, and when I got about 10 foot from it, I realized it was not on its foundation. And then I thought, well, now what do I do?
Wow.
I could hear voices around back, and so I got out, I got my flashlight on my phone off, and I walked around the back of the house, and I could see 3 individuals. And I said, I just hollered at them. I said, is everybody okay? And my neighbor, who I know well, recognized my voice, and he said, where'd you come from? And I said, I'm out in front of your house. And they had lost major damage, 3 barns, and their house eventually was torn down too. So, but the neighbor farmer who my son-in-law contacted called me, and he said, I'm coming to get you. I said, I'm not sure you can get in here because the trees are down. And he walked in, had to walk in about 1,000 foot of down trees in the middle of the road, and then ushered me out to my place. So when I think about it, actually what happened, this tornado had come down the highway about 3 miles, and it had taken out 17 semi-trucks and 25 cars underneath me.
Wow! Right when you were above.
When I was above them, all right. And when I really think about what happened, I realize that a tornado coming down has a lot of upward energy because it hits the ground.
That's right.
And that energy actually went underneath
the semi.
Right.
And you were above and underneath there was lots of damage done, and you were right above it, and not much
Not to me.
compared to them
Right.
happened to you,
Right.
because God protected you right there on top and underneath, and some people were actually killed right below there. How
Correct.
many?
Well, they said one, but I was in the hospital shortly after, and in talking to the people in the hospital, they said about 4 or 5 more died
4 or 5
from
people
that.
died.
The one truck that I saw that was in the salvage yard where mine was a young man who died. His truck was thrown 250 feet across the highway.
Wow.
You know, and so the Lord protected me.
Yes.
You know, when you think about it, you have a lot of thoughts like, what if? You know,
What if?
what if I had have been 2 minutes earlier, or
Right.
2 minutes later? You know,
And when you heard the news later what happened there, you must have been just really amazed that something like that really happened right below you and beside you.
Yes.
Because people got killed, you were saved.
right?
And you were alone on the road. That highway beneath was packed full of people.
Right.
But there where you were alone in the dark.
In the country road, it was like a country road, 2 miles from the house.
And that bridge had no exit toward the highway then.
No, it didn't.
No,
it
just
was
a bridge over.
just a country road over the highway.
So what happened? And you called your wife back again?
Yeah, I called her and said, I'm fine, you know, I'll be home. And we get home and we'd lost about 25 trees, but that was mostly straight winds at our place, you know.
Wow.
So, but,
Well, that is just an absolutely amazing story that God protected you, that you are able now to share the story with our people. Isn't that amazing, brothers and sisters, when you hear a story like this, how God is taking care of us. He's taking care of his children. He could have been killed, and he loves the Lord. He would have been in heaven anyways, but he has now this story to share with you. So when you are in a situation like this somewhere in the world, and it might happen to you too, turn to Jesus. Thank him that he will protect you, that he will protect our souls. We live in a super modern world. We need to hear stories like this, how God protects his children, how he's taking care of us. And I really appreciate that, Jack, for giving us the opportunity here in the park here in Florida, close to Lakeland, that you were able to come here with us in this room and share your story. May the Lord bless you for that. We really appreciate that. May God bless you and your family and all of you who hear this story today. Thank you so much, Jack.
thank you.
God bless you.